Philippine cities generate 80% of the country's economic output and 70% of the country's household expenditures. No wonder cities and urban centers are seen as areas of growth and opportunity, inevitably resulting in a rural to urban migration trend. Currently, 49% of the country's total population, or 45.6 million people, are living in cities, nearly 12 million of whom are residing in Metro Manila. By 2030, it is projected that up to 77% of the country's total population will call cities home. Rapid urbanization calls for more effective and efficient infrastructure and systems to deliver the most basic services to all areas of the urban population, most especially to the most vulnerable and marginalized.
Well, there is infrastructure. It's not enough. We always need to invest more. It's unavoidable that people come to the cities for opportunities, so the population that needs to be served is always going to be increasing. Land is not being created anymore, so we're now going to have to go vertical. And that means it's more expensive to create the infrastructure, but we need to do that. Otherwise, quality of life deteriorates, cost of doing business increases, and the economic opportunities will be dissipated. So we will continue to invest in the infrastructure that's necessary in order that the city will continue to function. An example of that is the so-called integrated transport terminals. There are nearly 4,500 provincial buses from the north, meaning this is Bulacan, Pampanga, Tarlac, etc. From the north, there are 4,500 buses that come into the city every day. There are 85 provincial bus terminals all over the city. So all these provincial buses are all over the city using up very, very scarce road space and even having to go to the narrow streets. So we're investing in infrastructure projects in the north where all of these provincial buses will terminate there. So it sort of organizes itself. At that point, people can then transfer to MRT, LRT, or to the city buses. That way, it's more organized, there's lesser traffic, the quality of life improves, we save on fuel because we won't be stuck on traffic as much, and so on and so forth. 4,500 buses from the north, another nearly 4,000 buses from the south. We're doing a similar thing for Cavite, Laguna, Batangas. We want to have a livable city. We want to have a city that serves the needs of its residents, and we want to have a city that provides adequate opportunities for economic activity, not only for her citizens or residents, but for those in the neighboring areas as well. One of the reasons we are extending the rail systems into the countryside is to, in fact, enlarge the available space for economic activity, as opposed to having it just simply within a very, very small confined space. So these are ways how government can invest in infrastructure to put greater sanity in the traffic and transport systems within the city.
We really need to upgrade the quality of infrastructure in our urban centers. What we're trying to do is improve the quality riding surface of our national roads in the urban centers. We want to also make sure that our roads are safe for pedestrians. We have taken this for granted all these years. Our pedestrians take their rides on the carriageway instead of taking their rides on the sidewalk. What we've found out is our roads are not safe for pedestrians because our sidewalks have been taken over by shops, by vendors, by almost everything, including utility poles. Pedestrians end up walking on the roadway rather than on the sidewalk, which makes it very unsafe. So what we're doing is we're recovering all of our road right-of-way and clearing any obstructions on our road right-of-way. To me, that is a very important component of upgrading our national roads, especially in urban centers. We have a paradigm shift in terms of flood control. Because of climate change, what used to be several days or weeks of rainfall all of a sudden is dropped in 6-8 hours. And therefore, you cannot carry that kind of volume on our existing riverways, waterways, and canals. So what we are trying to do is look at how we can retard all of this excess runoff water upstream rather than just doing flood control downstream. Having said that, it's a matter of enforcing what is already in our existing building codes, enforcing what is already on our laws in terms of road easements. It's a matter of enforcing land use plans in urban centers. We have a major convergence program with the Department of Tourism so that all their tourism sites, all their tourism master plan is properly supported with necessary access, whether it is roads, airports, or seaports. Now, we also have a convergence program with the Department of Transport and Communication so that all their airports and seaports are properly provided with good access roads.
In the past few decades, Metro Manila and the other larger urban areas have actually grown quite fast. And this is in conjunction with the general growth of the country, and especially over the last 2 decades, with increasing per capita income, there's been also a movement towards larger cities. Unfortunately, the equilibrium between the infrastructure support and the population growth hasn't been kept in tandem perfectly. And so some infrastructure gaps have opened. You see this in the traffic situation, in the sewerage, in water, and other public services. So it's time really that we need to catch up in order to increase the quality of life in these cities. We are quite confident that our infrastructure program will be able to provide or this catch up so that we will be in balance again between the needs as well as the supply of public services.
The Philippine government recognizes private sector participation in urban infrastructure projects as a key strategy in achieving the vision of sustained, inclusive economic growth.
PPP is a great help. PPP is partnership as between the private sector and the people. Right? So really, there's not enough money in government to do all of these infrastructure needs. We really need a partnership with the private sector to use their capital, not just their money, but their expertise, their experience in projects, in project development, in project operationalization, project delivery. And so really it will need a strong partnership as between government and the private sector so that we can deliver on all of these projects. The government accepts that it does not have the sufficient capital or money, the technological experience and expertise, or the expertise with projects of the nature that we want to have happen in our country. So a partnership with the private sector is essential. It's a sine qua non for us to successfully deliver on our promise. And that's what we will do.
The private sector is very enthusiastic and very supportive of the PPP program. In all of the PPPs that we are preparing, there's a lot of interest, whether it is roads, school building, or bridges, or the long-term maintenance. I think it shows a lot of confidence in the private sector to seriously look at these PPP programs. The thing that we're assuring the private sector is it will be transparent, we will become open and competitive, we will make sure that we will level the playing field in terms of implementing these PPP programs. Because at the end of the day, we get the best offer, and the final beneficiary of this would be the Filipino people. We're getting the best offers coming from the private sector. The private sector's expertise, management, as well as financial resources will become very handy for the long-term sustainability of these projects.
As migration from rural to urban continues, demand for high-quality urban infrastructure increases. The participation of the private sector in urban infrastructure development through public-private partnerships incentivizes the optimization of construction, maintenance and management of urban infrastructures, resulting in the selection of more durable materials, less cost overruns, faster completion, and, on the whole, value for money for the entire Filipino people.
The single biggest project that we're working on right now is about 30 billion pesos. This is the LRT Line 1 extension all the way to Cavite. By being able to access a mass transit system, this rail LRT system, into the city, we will be able to improve their quality of life, shorten their commute time, reduce their cost of getting to work. We have a lot of other projects in the pipeline, and we will be rolling these out. Well, for Laguindingan, the actual infra work, the physical civil works is ongoing, it's on track. It will be completed by the end of 2012. This is quite an important project for us because it opens up the entire northern Mindanao we will have a better facility. It will be rated much better than the existing facility now, which sits on a plateau. So this will have the ocean on its side, so it'll be much safer, much easier to get to, and it will now be able to accommodate international flights coming into it. That's a clear example of how we're operationalizing our program for better transport all across our country. There are other airport facilities, for example, in Cebu that we're building, and then we will bid out the O&M for it. Likewise in Tacloban.
On the pipeline, we have the NLEX-SLEX connector link. We also have another alignment that will open up a new highway or elevated toll road going right into the city. Aside from that, we have identified a Cavite-Laguna Expressway. We have a Central Luzon East that will connect from the end of an existing toll road right now, which is the Subic-Clark-Tarlac toll road. At the end of that, we intend to continue all the way to Cabanatuan City, finalizing the arrangements for what we refer to as the NAIA Expressway Phase 2. This will connect all of our NAIA terminals to connect to the Skyway and therefore bring you to Makati, and at the same time give a new access to the PAGCOR Entertainment City. From PAGCOR, you can actually be in any of the terminals 1, 2, and 3 and be in Makati within 15 minutes. Aside from road and toll roads, we are also going into PPP for bridge construction. We are looking at doing school buildings through PPP for some 30,000 classrooms so that we're able to finally reduce or remove the classroom backlog of the Department of Education. Aside from this, we are changing some of the mindset that we have in terms of road maintenance. We want to engage the private sector in long-term road maintenance.
The different agencies have put in their current plans for projects because this is a live document and can change slightly. And the President is in the process of assessing and scrutinizing the plans of each agency, where they will have to come in with their strategy as well as their commitment to the timelines that are suggested by these projects. We actually invite people to take a look at the Philippine Development Plan and to follow the public investment plan so that they will see more of the specifics of these projects. The whole country is made up of many areas, and the outlying regions as well as the rural sector are very important. But sometimes as you complete the cycle, the focus shifts to the major urban areas where a rather large part of the economic activity happens. When you are able to make economic activities and social development in these areas more effective and more efficient, then it magnifies the impact for the whole country. The outlying areas and the urban areas have a very strong symbiotic relationship. As you strengthen the cities, the whole country also gets strengthened.
Public-private partnerships in urban infrastructure development are built to address challenges and to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor, transforming cities into true engines of growth and places of opportunity for all.